Dennis.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's the middle of the week and not much traffic on these streets today. A little bit of it on Jogo Road, however. Other parts of the city, nothing much. It looks like we're starting off Wednesday in good stead. Coming to the roundabout at Kamkunji, not too much of an issue. The Thika Superhighway looks absolutely great. How about we carry on this fashion today? Talk to us through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Of February 2022. It's now practically the second day of the year. The other one was not a year. The other one was no man's land for an entire 75 days of January. But now, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy Wednesday, wherever you're tuned in. How you doing, Ndu?
Good morning. How are you?
I mean, I'm fine. It's cold in here.
It's nice.
Go away.
And in 3, 2, 1, CT does the business. I go away.
Yes.
Allah? Why are you this thing this morning?
Kwenda uko.
I don't understand this animosity. Where is
It's
this
refusing to go.
You see? It's because you spoke to me badly. Talk to me so that I do the thing.
Don't worry, Eric.
Cold one.
Whatever it is she's purporting to have, she thinks she has a monopoly of it.
Wow.
Ujambo poa.
Aki. City. Si unione kando.
Hata hivi sasa nakuwa na kando. Wewe ndio una habari.
Haujaniambia poa.
Oh, John reminds me that it is 02022022 today.
It's 22222.
Today's the tooth day of the tooth month
of the
and
22nd
year of the century. Si ndio?
Inakuwaga hivyo.
Hivyo ndio kunaendanga. How are you doing, City?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. What's that? The Gideon's Bible?
No, Gideon's Bible is actually a little mightier in terms of size than this.
Not that one.
This other one?
This other one, yes. Gideon's Bible is usually has the blue cover.
Yeah, but Gideon's Bible is around 4 times this size. This one could be just the New Testament. Because Old Testament, long stories, plenty of directions. So New Testament, a little easy on the eye and on the mind. Yes.
Karibuni sana kwenye kipindi. We have several conversations to have. Keep it right here for them. Let's look at COVID and tracking the numbers.
171 new cases in the country yesterday from a sample size of 6,137 keeps the positivity rate under 3%, which is a good thing. 4 recorded deaths over the last month, and those are the numbers that we're looking at in the country. Also, vaccination numbers as well continue to increase ever so slightly, looking at that June deadline. So hopefully we'll get to that. So there are more vaccines in the country than there are people currently getting them. Hopefully those numbers will increase as we go along. Let's look at what's happening on the rest of the globe. 381 million is where those numbers are right now. Still continues to increase. We're still seeing so much around the politics of COVID, playing out around the world, whether we're looking at the Canadian example or we're looking at the American example where, you say one thing but do another.
How's it going in America?
Well,
1 year of Biden's administration. How different is COVID management in the States?
Many would say that the management has not really changed, but the optics of the management is what you see a little bit differently, whereby there are calls by the government to have certain measures in public spaces, for example, wearing of masks, making sure that you've been vaccinated as federal workers, and then you see the denial of wages or the denial of employment if you then have not been vaccinated. So that's what we see. During the Trump administration, many would argue that you wouldn't see something like that. You wouldn't hear things like that. But that's what we hear now. And booster shots, for example, being encouraged, the optics of the president getting his booster shots and encouraging more and more people to do so. But then here you are, interestingly enough, whereby the public has been calling on the government to do certain things like shut down schools. When you have high rates of the spread of the Omicron variant of COVID and more children then being susceptible to infection, then you have parent associations and school boards saying, you know what, shut it down. Let's continue with home learning.
And the federal government says, the economy stay open.
The federal government batted an eyelid and continued. Nothing happened.
No different from
Schools
Trump.
remained open. Businesses remained open, except with that overlying threat of if you've not been vaccinated or don't wear a mask in a federal building, then you cannot access.
Stories.
Okay. C'est ça? C'est plus?
Okay. We dragged the Sia governor over some fairly hot coals the other day. Now, the land of the free and the brave, they are making public similar pronouncements where you're being told you can't do this, you can't enter this, you can't do this. And this is the country where you cannot get space if you're competing for the people who talk about personal freedoms more. So, what I wonder is this something about the US and us? Do we share some commonality in thought and presence? Because really, what is the difference? Because
We're all human.
let me respond in a way that I think you'd resonate with. Voila.
Voila.
Yes. Exactly. Because I was thinking about it and thinking, some of these things that are attributed to people who are fully paid up members of this particular continent in terms of citizenship. Yeah, Africans. It's not African, it's human.
It's human.
And if we are going to condemn the action, then the condemnation should be the same.
Indeed.
Because surely, unless you want to use the edict that some countries have, their law, that you are really not allowed to decide how you're going to die. And you see, that's another debate. Because the argument is, if you're sick, you may die. But COVID brings in another argument. If you don't do what is necessary, you will get other people infected.
Yeah, and
yes,
then
and
they could die.
And they're not asking to get infected. So, should we say the debate goes on?
Yes.
But Norway. So it's written clearly Norway. Yes. I think they've joined Denmark. They are also saying, all these things of this, that, the other.
Open
up. Yes. Let's see what happens. So it looks like the Scandinavian countries have decided this one.
We're not.
We understand, but yes. But it looks like the question we should actually ask are these fellows who are in this task force that the president put up, the COVID task force. These are experts, by the way. Super experts, people who understand, people who conduct research. They ought to tell us what it is they've been advising. Because if you look at our government's action, the government seems to have said, this shutting down thing, press pause.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up again.
The government actually, President said that we are not going to shut down the economy again. He said it publicly. Tuko hapo, we are not shutting down this economy again. We are dealing as we deal. It's 17 after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, live on SpiceFM and SpiceFM KE, YouTube and Facebook. And also live streaming conversations on Twitter, SpiceFM KE, and Instagram as well. SpiceFM KE, are you online? Say hello. Let's take a look at the weather. We'll be saying hello to you shortly.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you a woman looking to run for an elective position in the upcoming 2022 general elections? Spice FM, the home of Kenya's biggest conversation, is inviting you to our studios where you can speak more about your vision and aspirations to an audience of millions of Kenyans as we celebrate women in leadership. For more information, contact us on 0763 969797.
What does the 14th of February mean to you? Is it Valentine's Day, Singles Awareness Day, or just another day on the calendar?
I don't need the 14th.
Either way, we're celebrating love in all its variants. This February, if you're here for love or just laughs, you're welcome to join us at the Tamarind Tree Hotel, Nairobi on the 12th of February for a good time and zero pressure to be anything but yourself. Book a room with your squad, your partner, or by yourself and enjoy dinner and a fun night with performances from Atemi, MC Jesse, and more. Hosted by Spice FM's Barbara Mbaka. If you're like us, you'll take it to the next level and take advantage of the late checkout and breakfast the next day. Join us at Love and Laughter by reserving your spot now for 16,500 shillings for a single and 20,000 shillings for two, payable to paybill number 365582.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We will see highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's mostly cloudy as well in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 15 in Nyeri, highs of 25 and lows of 13, while in Eldoret, clear at 12. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 24. In Mombasa, it's clear at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 25, while in Malindi, clear conditions at 25, going to highs of 31. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 19, highs of 27 today. And in Kakamega, it's mostly cloudy at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Clear conditions in Kampala at 20, highs of 26, while in Dar es Salaam, it's raining this morning at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Clear conditions at 15 in Johannesburg, highs of 27, while in Lagos, there's a haze still over the city, Hamatan bitter months, 24. Currently, highs of 34. It's raining in Kinshasa at 24. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 23. It's bang on zero and sunny in Beijing early afternoon. We'll see highs of 5 and lows of -8. 10 degrees and cloudy in Paris. We'll see highs of 12 and lows of 7. It's cloudy at 10 in London, highs of 12, lows of 10. And New York is cloudy at 2 degrees. Still Tuesday night coming into Wednesday. We'll see highs of 2 and lows of -1.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Western Kenya's tuned in, Mombasa's tuned in, and quite a number of people tuned in this morning. Kiptui says good morning. Chris Amolo says good morning. It's a great morning, ready for today's show, tuned in from the Lakeside City. Where might that be? Who else online today? Davy Mwana Ireri, locked and loaded, south of the Sahara Desert and south of the Great River Limpopo.
Ati?
Yo.
South of Sahara and south of Limpopo.
Yeah, it's just really south.
Should be in between, Buana.
It should. Just know it's south.
Surely. So where are you? In the Indian Ocean?
Cricket. Mozewa Abi tuned in from the Taveta border and listening in from Nyeri. Temu Said Barre. Robert Bogo, also Easy Mombasa, and Jane Jesh is tuned in this morning as well. Stanley, of course, looking at that great view of Mount Kilimanjaro, trying to understand the work of the National Qualification Authority. CT, did you know that such authority existed?
The authority which does?
National Qualification Authority.
Yes, I do.
You did?
I do.
Okay, so now Stanley wants to know what that is and what they do. Daniel Kitiku is tuned in this morning from Mbere in Ebmu County. And he says, my Kiswahili teacher is doing very well. So my Kiswahili teacher, wherever you are right now this morning, congratulations to you. You've received top commendations. Mina Wanyeri says, good morning. And David Wasubukia is tuning in from Subukia. We see all of you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Karibuni sana.
Karibu City.
Yeah.
Is a proverb.
Right. I'm torn between two proverbs here because they both deal with animals.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let me start
with the two-legged one.
Okay. Eric has decided for me because he's right. One is four-legged, the other one is two-legged. Okay. Bata mtaga mayai, usimchinje kwa tamaa ya wingi.
Bata mtaga mayai,
usimchinje kwa tamaa.
Do not slaughter the goose that lays the golden egg.
Well, it is in that. That's how those relatives of ours chose to look at this matter. Yes. And they were not wrong.
Oh, David?
Yes.
Bata mtaga mayai, usimchinje kwa tamaa ya
wingi.
Just translate it.
Well, if you have a duck that lays eggs, you know, ducks, geese, chickens, you know, they all lay eggs once a day. So, you need to be patient because it's going to continue laying eggs.
Indeed.
Yes, and those eggs, given time, can become other chicks.
Which will give you more ducks.
Yes.
Right.
Or even more geese. So, it's important for you to understand that you don't disappear.
Lay eggs.
You don't disappear the duck.
don't disappear the duck so you can get more eggs. In fact, there you go. Don't disappear the duck so you can get more eggs.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just that our ducks and geese don't lay golden eggs, but nonetheless, they are eggs. You don't kill them.
Ni sawa sawa.
You want egg? Keep the duck.
Actually, it helps. And if you're patient enough, duck will produce many ducklings. So with time, you will be perhaps a budding duck farmer, geese.
Just by the way, what are the babies of geese called?
Gooselings.
No. Close.
What are they called?
Goslings.
Geezers.
No.
Not gizzards.
What did I say? No. Wait. What did I say?
You said gooslings.
Yes.
I said goslings.
Tomato.
Not tomato.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They are goslings.
They are goslings.
they're
Let's look at the gizzards. Let's look at the paper headlines in the papers. Remember, www.standardmedia.co.ke for access to all the content from the Standard and the papers. So, the headlines in, I'm sure, the Business Daily, the Nation, the Standard this morning are all highlighting the supplementary budget that's been presented before the National Assembly yesterday. How election year billions were shared. Uhuru's government to spend additional 126 billion shillings to prepare for polls, fight drought, and buy COVID vaccines in a supplementary budget that also pumps in cash to ailing parastatals. That's the Standard. Nation, KQ and IEBC win big in 130 billion shilling budgets. So, where is the money going? So, basically, the National Treasury has presented before Parliament a supplementary budget in which they're seeking authority to spend this kind of money in the next couple of months. The IEBC is supposed to get 8.8 billion shillings to prepare for the forthcoming general election. 8.8 billion shillings they're given in February for an August poll. So what are they spending the money on? Go to India, print those things. Transport them into the country, take them to the polling centers and all those other things and all election-related stuff. Then we need to secure the country during this time of the election. And for us to have proper security, we are going to spend an extra 15.1 billion shillings.
Hey.
Nice, huh?
Not much. It's an extra. Remember, there was a budget to...
And when we were budgeting, we didn't know this election was going to take place.
There was a budget to defense and there's a budget to security. But now we're looking at how to get some extra 15 billion shillings to spend. Ministry of Health is being given 14.9 billion shillings to purchase COVID-19 vaccines. How much was the budget last? It was 14.
It was.
In the June budget.
Yes, it was. Now?
It was about a supplementary of 14. Many of the COVID vaccines that we have in the country are free.
Not only are they free, my friend, they are unutilized. And by the looks of things, there are people who are willing to keep donating. Surely, can we not exhaust the ones we have?
And we have 24 million vaccines have come into the country. 12.4 million of them have been used. There's about 10 million that are just floating about, 11 million floating about, waiting for uptake. And unfortunately, we're looking at...
It's actually 12.2 million floating around.
Yeah.
Yes.
And look, we're looking at shelf life of these vaccines reducing on the daily. So, what are we talking about?
14 billion shillings is going to buy
vaccines, and we have some here that are not being used.
Department of Infrastructure, 7.3 billion shillings, all right, for infrastructure projects. Kenya Airways is getting a cash bailout of 26.6 billion shillings. The State Department for University Education, 8.5 billion shillings to fund the financing gap. You see, universities, we've been talking about this, they've been having some cash issues, So they get 8.5 billion shillings. The Teacher Service Commission to get 6.9 billion shillings for the rollout of the CBC program. The State Department for Crop is getting 5.3 billion shillings for drought mitigation. Ati, how much did we need for drought the other day, we said? 6 billion.
6 billion.
Now, 5.3 billion shillings is coming from the government for drought.
Okay.
Yeah. Fisheries and Blue Economy is getting 4.6 billion shillings. Decrease in budget. And all. And then there's something. 24 billion shillings is going to the fuel stabilization cash. This is the money that goes. This is the money that we pay every time we are fueling, some 5 shillings and 40 cents. That goes when you fuel petrol or diesel, and some 40 cents when you buy kerosene. This money is in the fuel levy fund. It's called the Petroleum Development Levy, the PDL. And this is the money that is a cushion for when there is price fluctuation in the international market that's likely to affect consumers. This is the money that has been cushioning the consumers. So an extra 25 billion shilling goes into the fuel subsidy.
Omo, speaking of power and things like that, MPs have questioned the abrupt resignation of Fernandes Baraza as managing director at the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company Limited, KETRACO, a day before, interestingly enough, he was to respond to audit queries. Mr. Baraza, who stepped down on Monday, had been expected to appear before the National Assembly Public Investments Committee, PIC, yesterday. His contract was due to end in April. The committee has also summoned senior Kenya Power managers tomorrow over 785 million shillings excess payment made to Lake Turkana Wind Power for a project in Marsabit County. When the power project wanted to wire the excess payment to the firm, there's a sticker here that needs to move. They were strangely given the wrong account number. Can happen, right? According to Chairman Abdul Somad Nasir, I find it a bit worrying that the MD resigned yesterday, hours before he was to meet us. Anthony Wamakota could not explain why Mr. Baraza left the company before the exit of his contract. Now, this is acting MD Wamakota. Even if it is about elections, he still had 1 week, according to the regulations by the IEBC. According to Mr. Wamakota, he told MPs that he needed more time to go through the answers provided by Mr. Baraza, as he was only partly involved in their preparations. Likoni MP Mishimboko wondered whether the former MD had been part of a graft cartel and probably needed to avoid facing MPs over the audit report. I don't know whether he is part of the cartel or not. We are just surprised by his move, she said. The legislators want Kenya Power to explain why it provided the wrong bank account to the LTWP and who authorized the excess payments. The committee is also seeking to establish whether some rogue officials at the Ministry of Energy and Kenya Power deliberately gave the wrong account number to benefit from the interest accrued. Payments for the multi-billion shilling project were made in 4 tranches from June to September 2020. Officials last year told MPs they were willing to refund the amount anytime Kenya Power provides them with the correct account details. According to an official at the Auditor General's office, the money earns an interest of 130 million shillings annually. The multi-billion shilling project in Loangalani comprises 365 wind turbines, each with a capacity of 850 kilowatts and a high voltage substation.
I don't get it.
What don't you get?
Even I don't get it.
Okay.
Who was paying whom?
Okay. KETRACO, Kenya Power was paying Turkana Wind Power.
Why?
For this project. This project that they are setting up now in Marsabit County.
The project is complete. They're already supplying power. So what
are they paying for?
So Kenya Power, where is KETRACO coming into the conversation? There are 3 organizations here. And
whose functions are distinctly different.
Lake Turkana Wind Power Project generates power,
yes,
sells it to Kenya Power. Okay? Now, if they're selling it to Kenya Power, that means that Kenya Power is the one that buys, so it's the one that should be paying
No.
Lake Turkana.
Turkana was supposed to wire money, to wire the excess. Okay, no, that's sorry. They were supposed to wire the excess money back, but they were given the wrong account number.
Every time one listens to this, it was excess.
Okay, so what happened? Kenya Power paid the wrong account. They were supposed to be buying
Kenya Power
from...
did two things. They paid the wrong account and they paid more money. They paid an excess of 785 million. An excess payment.
How much?
785 million. An excess... Hold on. An excess payment made to Lake Turkana Wind Power for a project in Marsabit County.
Abu, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
This one we require to a bit of digestion. It's 25 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Keep it right here for more stories from the papers, what's happening in the country and globally, but also what's happening on the roads. We're taking a look at that shortly.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so it's building up on Jogo Road this morning, getting out into the city. We're also looking at Langata Road that has piled up quite some. Hopefully we will not have the nightmare that was on Mombasa Road yesterday. It's looking pretty good, at least at this time of the morning. Outer Ring is starting to pile up as you're trying to use that route to get away from the traffic that is Mombasa Road, or likely to be in a short while. It's also building up on the Thika Superhighway, as well as coming off Waiyaki Way this morning in the western part of the city. Langata Road a little bit here and there. Raila Odinga Way is free and clear as you're getting towards Ngong Road and then out towards Community. Not too much of an issue. So we're still dealing with the early morning rumblings of traffic. Hopefully the stomachache will not appear this morning. Shall we keep an eye on things this morning? Let's do it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to SpiceFM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
22 minutes to 7.
You know, there are two things I find puzzling here. Are you saying that the these parliamentary committees do not have the power to summon anybody, whether you are retired,
whether you work for public service
or not? Because from what I see, they can summon anybody.
Of course.
So even if the CEO of Ketraco resigns, so he can still be summoned.
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
Yeah. So this drama of we are wondering. Yes, wonder all you like.
But just summon the guy.
Summon him.
The thing is that, this is not the first time we would have heard that somebody is summoned after they have left a particular office. And what are the reasons that we've heard that they've given? Well, I'm not currently there, so I can't be able to give you the information.
Actually, you can.
It's usually a sticking point that they would use to explain away a weird situation.
It's a very tired point. Okay. Because you are not being summoned for what you've done after retirement.
It's what you did while you were there.
Yes,
or what you're
that's it.
Done.
So unless you're saying that the moment you retired on that very same day, that very hour, your memory went blank. That one, we can understand. But it doesn't go blank because this man, as we know, wants to be governor of Kakamega.
Mm.
Yes.
So he Just like...
His faculties are sound.
So he can still be summoned.
He can still be
Of
summoned
course
to ask-
he can be
answer
summoned.
questions.
So
So Abdul Samad and his committee can actually pull him back later.
The
on
alleged
and ask him.
ukora here is with regards to... So Kenya Power was paying Lake Turkana Wind Power Project.
Yes.
And they were supposed to pay, let's say they were supposed to pay 100 bob, they paid 120.
They paid-
Lake Turkana Wind Power notices, hey, there's an extra 20 bob.
But until you give us the right account.
We need to refund you. Kenya Power gives them some account. And
It's the wrong account.
It's a wrong account. For that reason, the money has not been wired, and it's sitting somewhere.
Waiting for
in
the
an
correct account to be given. That's the only problem.
Electrical Wind Power. And as it is sitting there, it is earning interest.
This
so whose
story-
money is it?
Of 130 million shillings annually.
Have you heard of a situation where money is in no man's land?
Yes.
Just hanging. Like the COVID
Money in Kenya.
It's account somewhere.
No person's land. Sometimes you wonder.
It has taken more than a year to give the proper account.
Yes.
You know, sometimes people forget.
And all these people we're talking about are in the country. Here.
Yes.
No, it's a company that is actually very many years old in this country. It has very many bank accounts. Kenya Power.
Hey.
They don't know. Oh, yeah. Sorry, we actually.
sorry,
it
sorry,
was a
this
mistake.
is actually the
this
one.
is how you send the money back. This
So
sent to this
and
account.
it takes a year. So these messages that perhaps require one to take the necessary action, what do? They put on a tortoise.
Just ask the hare. The tortoise might even be faster.
Or what? Or they put on a donkey. I mean, for heaven's sake. Even if you're going to try
telefax.
and spread a fib, can you at least be creative so that when we read, we feel, oh, yes, this could have happened. But this.
Like Turkana said, as soon as you give us the correct account, we give you back the money.
Okay. You know that?
In excess of 785 million. That's the excess we're talking about here.
Imagine.
Now, even you, when you're paying, see, you would have received a document before saying that this is the amount that you're supposed to pay. You've made a mistake of 785. Wouldn't those be red flags all over the place saying, hey, folks.
So there was like a mistake somewhere.
We paid a little bit extra. How about you send that back?
And they did that. So Lake Turkana Wind Power Project says that they received an email from their bank on December 23rd last year informing them that the payment they had made had been returned due to insufficient account details. On the 18th of January, Juzi this year, they wrote to Kenya Power requesting the correct account to deposit the excess payment that they had received. We subsequently reached out to both again on January 3rd and 12th, but with unfortunately no response received yet. We write to you to help support the efforts to obtain the necessary additional bank details, such as an IBAN correspondent bank details, offshore bank address, and reference to allow us to submit the payment. This is a letter from the Lake Turkana Wind Power to the acting managing director of Kenya Power, Rosemary Oduor. Kenya Power replied on January 27th saying they were consulting with the Ministry of Energy to provide the additional information requested. We've asked the ministry so that you can get, you want IBAN and all corresponding bank. Please note the challenge that has been shared with the Ministry of Energy requesting for additional details from the central bank. We will communicate further details in due course on this matter.
By the way,
this is what Ms. Oduor wrote back to them.
The Business Daily gives more details because their headline is German lender rejects 785 million wired to CBK. Standard Chartered Bank in Frankfurt, Germany. Not Westlands branch. Frankfurt, Germany. Okay.
The correspondent
rejected 785 million wired into a Central Bank of Kenya account by Lake Turkana Wind Power as a refund for excess pay from Kenya Power, which is now under parliamentary probe. The German lender rejected the refund for excess payment of idle power charges paid in 2018, citing lack of sufficient details of the ultimate beneficiary of millions of shillings paid to CBK. Refund, we now know destination. Okay? They said, you're calling it refund? No. The documentation for this amount is required.
For us to be able to wire this money from your account to the beneficiary's account, we need extra details.
Yes.
And we are not getting those extra details. So tell your people to give us. So they write to Kenya Power. Kenya Power says, okay, so we have sought the answer from the Ministry of Energy. Yes. It was excess power that was generated by Lake Turkana Wind Power Project. In 2018, Kenya Power was supposed to pay. They paid an extra 785 million shillings. You know, those zeros I just add.
You know, the thing is, people who adhere to the strict letter of the law, something is wrong. Okay, the money has arrived. We've seen it.
Yeah.
But you haven't explained adequately and you haven't provided sufficient documentation. Take back your money.
I think this whole thing, City, this whole thing, from beginning, from billing to overpayment to questions, all of it is one.
It is.
One long game.
Yep. I would argue that even the matter going to Parliament, part
of the long game.
Yes.
785 million can just be forgotten like that.
We are being carried pumpkin. What are you looking at, City?
Well. What I'm looking at, Business Daily.
Yes.
Kenya locks diesel buses out of the lucrative BRT project.
Mais pourquoi, monsieur?
It is because petrol and diesel-powered buses have been locked out of the lucrative bus rapid transport that will be launched on Thika and Mombasa Road from June this year. And hopefully they'll be using the super expressway.
Yes.
And the new bus stops on Thika Superhighway.
Yes. All right.
Continue.
As part of the government efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, a senior official said yesterday. So, petrol, diesel,
Out.
You know,
electric vehicles and
in yesterday's paper, there was a quarter-page advertisement taken out by the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. That whole thing is one ministry. And the CS, James Macharia, is the one who had, released this statement, where he was talking about, the government and the efforts at looking at electrification and going green, starting the whole story of COP26, what commitments we've made, the journey we've gone, and saying, Kenya is green and we are going green. And in fact, we are working on some policy documents and working on the regulations on how we can encourage going green. And we have noticed, happily, that in this country, there are many people who have started going green in terms of motor vehicles. There's a recalibration of motor vehicles to put electric vehicles on the road, where you go and charge a car. And so they're engineering. You've seen those vehicles that have been converted, not just using LPG, but even using batteries, huge batteries, electric. And the CS also went ahead to note that, happily and gladly, that there's even a company that has introduced an electric bus in Kenya.
Yes.
And it says this is a good way to go. And in fact, we encourage the private sector to continue investing in this as the government is firmly behind you. And I looked at that and I wondered, so why take up an advert for it? Cool, but there's a story. At now, what?
It is now unfolding thus. Okay? BRT is designed to improve a city's public transport network relative to conventional buses. Is it a reporting issue or what? A bus is a bus.
No, an electric bus is not.
No, a bus is a bus in that it travels on a road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? So whether they're electric, non-electric, hybrid, whatever you want to call it, it's a bus.
Yes.
Now, this thing is being presented as though you suddenly have these electric or hybrid vehicles. Suddenly transportation will change and will improve drastically. Really? Really? Okay. Let me read further. The initial fleet is 100. Okay? My goodness. Now, let me go. I had jumped ahead. Mr. Hinga, who happens to be the Housing and Urban Development Principal Secretary, a gentleman we've spoken to on many occasions, told the Business Daily this, that BRT corridors will be launched in Nairobi by mid this year. Mid is June usually.
Yes.
But let's throw in May and July just to give it a broad base.
Okay.
Are expected to hold up to 100 high-capacity buses that will increase to 300 in subsequent corridors. The initial fleet of 100 is 100, but will go up to 300 in subsequent orders. We are targeting June or July. See, told you. Let's throw in May. Local content is minimum. There's a reporting problem here.
There's a big block.
There's an editor who removed some service.
Yes, and even the sentence went left completely. The grammar now even, okay. Priority corridors are Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, to Likoni, James Gishuru, Rironi, Bomas to Ruiru roads. Other motorways are Ngong Road, Juja, Mamalusi, T-Mall, Balozi to Imara. Yesterday, the Transport Ministry formally invited firms to tender for the contract.
Bus. Remember when we spoke to PS Charles Hinga about the BRT?
Yes.
And he was telling us about these bus stops that they've started developing on Thika Superhighway, as was the first step. We finished doing those bus stops. The next thing we're going to do is invite companies to come and bid to provide the buses. And when they come together, you can come together as Matatu Circles and bid together. It's okay. But we'll invite the bids, we'll open the bids, and then we'll give license to the buses, the companies that will operate the buses in the BRT. Steps. That was supposed to have happened sometime last year or Q1 this year. So the bids were invited yesterday.
We're still in Q1.
Yes. And they have said they are giving preference to, let's go green. I mean, let's be deliberate in this. Let's just go green. If we already have green vehicles on the road, why not go green all the way? So going green, I think is a good thing to say, let's go green.
Eric, it's an excellent thing.
But
you see,
but there's the questions that will arise here are: was this clear from the very beginning that this is what we're going to do? That as we start working towards BRT, we want companies that are bringing green buses on the road to be the ones that start thinking where you're going to source your buses and all.
If the communication was
and as we are building these bus stops, we also have the bus termini where you'll have the charging stations for these buses.
Okay.
So all these things have been put in place, and then now government says we're inviting bids for green buses, electric vehicles on the road. What we are seeing is 2 weeks before the bids are opened, somebody has brought an electric bus.
Yes,
it's already there.
And it's being piloted.
Fanfare.
It's already there.
And then on the day the bids are invited, the CS for roads puts up an advert in the paper saying we encourage private investors to bring in green motor vehicles into the country.
And some people have already been encouraged prior to this particular.
They have been encouraged and they have acted upon said encouragement.
Actually, the thing that disturbs me.
And then you see an ad.
This issue of public participation in such an enterprise. The matatu industry is a huge industry. Yes, the PS categorically told us they had conversations.
Yes.
Now, this is where, in my mind, a little affirmative action is necessary. The matatu industry employs very many people. I'm even questioning this issue of simply saying, let's open up the bids. Because in this country, you open up bids, you open up many things other than the bids. The matatu industry ought to have been given not just priority, but they should have been assisted so that you want to go green. You want people who are already in that sector to lead the charge in going green. My view. So that you see green matatus. I mean, not painted green.
Got it?
Yes, exactly. Now, in doing so, this message of reducing carbon emission will spread even further than you imagine. People will board these things. They'll know it's the same matatu, guys. But it's a different kind of bus. Surely, is this not one way of bringing in the public into this conversation by allowing people who are already in that sector, making it possible for them to actually be part of this conversation of yours?
Indeed.
This Kenya, this one, City.
It has to be said. Because the last time such a thing
happened... In this country
happened...
of ours, we already have an electric bus on the road.
No, not even just on the road. You are talking bus. Me, I'm thinking
there are buses.
buses.
There's somebody whose investment has already come to
bus?
full fruit.
Buses.
Eric, don't you remember the story of speed governors? When a knife was put to all our throats about speed governors. Don't you remember that speed governor story?
You were just fueling somebody's business.
Does anybody ask you about speed governors today?
Speed governor yako haifanyi.
Well, and when a matatu has an accident, inspection, it has to go for annual inspection.
Yeah.
Speed governor inafanya kazi.
Speed governor will be working. Because people bought speed governors and immediately disabled them. And then just continue doing business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sit back, relax, city, enjoy, watch this ride. We are going BRT. Not this year. Definitely not this year.
I don't have a problem with
but
BRT.
But 2025 will have BRT. The owners, the people who will have pole position in BRT, look out for them in government today.
Eric, why do you think the idea of BRT is fantastic? Okay? I'm simply saying an opportunity is being lost here.
No, it's not.
No, not an opportunity to bring buses, Eric.
An opportunity to... it's not lost. That's the point I'm making. We talked about it the other day. Come up with a plan and see there's a beautiful plan. We need to have BRTs. Stall this project until we put all our ducks in a row. Ducks are in a row, city. This one, BRT. Ducks are in a row.
Eric, I am aware it is.
You have at Yuan Kamatatu, you went and took a loan, you went to General Motors, you took a Matatu, you're paying how much to General Motors every month? Enda tafuta shamba ulime mananasi ama avocado.
Avocado, I think.
Tutakusaidia ku-export China. Hii basi wachana nayo iko na wenyewe.
Why is it that everything that we do in this country must either erect, enact, or bring about a cartel that we had hitherto not heard? I mean... a good thing like this. Not that it is going bad. It went bad a long time ago. We are now just being fed with the sanitizing process.
Oh, yes. Page 3 of the Nation. Mystery of 2 Kiambu men strangled and their bodies dumped 350 kilometers away. We spoke about the DCI officer from Embu the other day, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Who left his home in Embu, said he's going to Mombasa. His vehicle was found in Isiolo. His body was found in Tambach at the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and Baringo counties. Next to that body of the DCI officer, around that area, bodies of 2 men were also found. 28-year-old Charles Moshuha, yes, a taxi driver from Kiamaiko village, and Daniel Kenodia, 34-year-old Mason from Murera village, both in Roiro, were found murdered on January 25th along the Cabernet Iten Road. A post-mortem exam conducted yesterday on the bodies of Moshuha and Kenodia showed that they both died from strangulation and they had similar injuries on the neck and head caused by a blunt object. According to Dr. Wangari Wambogo, autopsy results on the 2 bodies are similar and they both died due to strangulation. They also had soft tissue injuries on the neck and head. The mystery surrounding their deaths and their being dumped hundreds of kilometers away deepened yesterday after the Moshuha family said the father of one was picked on the 18th of January by people in civilian clothes who identified themselves as security officers. The purported officers were reportedly driving a Toyota Axio car, white in color. Mr. Peter Nganga, who is Moshuha's uncle, said the taxi driver, who was at the time with one of his relatives, was taken at around 1:30 p.m. His phone was switched off immediately, and the family thought maybe it was a traffic offense. They went to Huruma police station, but they were told he was not there. They wrote a statement. That was the beginning of a 6-day search for the missing person that included visiting police cells, prisons, and of course, hospitals and morgues in Nairobi and Kiambu counties. They found them so many kilometers away, murdered.
You know, we sometimes think and assume that we can understand the causal effect or the ripple effects that impunity brings about. people in authority clearly and deliberately disregard written, understood, laid down laws of the country by their actions. And somehow you think the rest of the country will remain peaceful, law-abiding. It doesn't work that way. Human beings don't function that way.
They follow the lead.
Yes, they look at the lead and say, oh. So every other person in their docket, I think it's time to take a break, isn't it?
Let's hear the news. Conversations continue in the
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
Kenya has surpassed the 12 million mark in the nationwide.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
The government is working towards vaccinating a target population of 27,246,033. Nairobi County leads in fully vaccinated individuals at 40.3%, Nyeri County at 39.3%, and Laikipia County with 30.1%. The High Court has thrown out a petition by Ezekiel Muthui challenging his dismissal at the helm of Kenya Film Classification Board in August last year. In a ruling, Justice Maureen Onyango stated that the board acted ultra-vires to appoint the applicant for a term of 5 years, as he had exhausted the threshold of 2 terms of 3 years each. Justice Onyango further ruled that appointing him for a term of 5 years is in contravention of Mongozo and board's HR manual. Therefore, the letter of appointment dated 14th July 2021 appointing him was null and void. Following his dismissal, Muthui had sued the government, terming the move as unfair. And lawyer Muga Ndu Okoh has now sued Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo for failing to facilitate his return into the country. In his suit papers, Miguna is seeking to have the court order a citizen arrest warrant for Omamo, who should then be delivered at committee maximum prison. The lawyer further wants the court to order Air Lufthansa, Air France and the state to refund him 1 million shillings, the amount he said he spent on his failed trips last year. Miguna was expected to arrive home on November 16, 2021, but an international red alert was allegedly issued against him in Berlin, Germany. The murder case facing Malindi member Parliament Aisha Juma will now be heard in April after the hearing failed to kick off last week over health concerns. The legislator, through her lawyers, has also filed an application asking that her case be heard by a magistrate's court. Juma and her bodyguard Godfrey Otieno have been charged with the murder of Gumbao Jola in Ganda Malindi constituency in 2019. Juma's lawyers told the court that the legislator was feeling better after the hearing, which was slated for January 24th, was postponed to 27th after the MP fell ill and was reportedly admitted at Karen Hospital in Nairobi. The hospital document tabled in Mombasa Road indicated that she is not able to sit for long hours as she is not medically fit to attend court matters for 1 month. However, key to note is Juma has been seen in several political rallies of UDA. And former finance manager at the Water Resources Management Authority has been sentenced to 4 years in jail for soliciting and receiving bribes of up to 910,000 shillings to facilitate development in the authority's regional offices. In the judgment that was delivered by Senior Principal Magistrate Eunice Nyutu of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Court, James Mbuso was found guilty of 4 out of 9 counts of bribery and abuse of office that he faced and was given an alternative fine of 7.6 million shillings. Mbuso was facing 9 offences under the Bribery Act of 2016 and the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003. Isiolo-based detectives are currently pursuing suspected bandits who allegedly shot dead a police officer before absconding with 2 J3 rifles and 50 rounds of ammunition. The incident, police say, occurred at Loruko Police Post near the Isiolo-Samburu border. The deceased police constable Francis Njeru was minding the post alongside his colleague Boaz Omondi, who allegedly left a few minutes before the ambush to make a phone call at a nearby primary school. In Nairobi, gubernatorial seat hopefuls Johnson Sakaja and Margaret Wanjiru brought a Kenya Kwanza whistle-stop rally at the city park to a halt after Sakaja supporters reportedly booed the woman of the cloth. A video that has since gone viral shows a visibly angry Wanjiru handing over the microphone during the vote hunting tour of Nairobi. Bishop Wanjiru, who is seeking to be the next city boss on a United Democratic Alliance party ticket, accused Sakaja of inciting his followers against her. And the United Democratic Alliance is welcoming applications from aspirants interested in seeking its ticket for various seats in the August 9th general election. A notice issued by National Election Board Chairperson Anthony Moura says aspirants can submit the applications online or to the party's headquarters in Nairobi. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
It's building up on Langata Road today, getting into the city, and we're looking at traffic coming off the Thika Super Highway as well. A few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're getting into traffic hour really early today. Actually, considerably. Coming off Westlands, Muga, then going towards James Gishuru, out onto Waiyaki Way this morning, pretty slow. Other parts of the eastern part of the city, we are looking at Manyanja Road, going in through Umoja, Outer Ring, that whole area, and then joining with the Thika Super Highway. That has slowed down considerably this morning. Speaking of which, as you're going into the city from that corner, you also see traffic building up on Kiambu Road, a little bit here and there. We're still at 2 lanes, so we're keeping things to a dull roar. We're also looking at Limu Road, that has packed up quite some today as well. What's Wednesday going to look like in terms of traffic? Thika Super Highway looks like it's going to be one for the books today, so let's keep an eye on things today. On Mombasa Road, as you're coming out from the Weybridge at Sabaki and then out towards the SGR, it's not too sticky. At least not for now. Hopefully we can remain just so without too much drama. Just in case there is, you can get in touch with us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's share the word and keep things moving this Wednesday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 7 minutes after 7 on this lovely Wednesday morning on the 02022022. That's the date. You get it?
Got it.
Get it? Yeah. City, the day's proverb.
Bata mtaga mayai usimchinje kwa tamaa ya wingi. Do not, and I repeat, do not kill the goose that lays the golden egg. In our instance, just lays eggs. Don't kill it.
Do not kill
the goose.
Goose, egg, don't kill goose.
Eat egg.
Eat egg, wait for next egg.
Or let egg stay as egg, because in time it will become chick.
And chick will then become
that
duck.
goozling that Ndu insists is guzzling.
I know what you're doing, CT.
Nisa sawa. Nisa sawa.
So, we are in an election year, right? There's certain things. Did you not know this?
This year?
Indeed. 2020? 2022.
Okay.
This is an election year. By August 10th, like this, you'll know who your next president and who your next governor, senator, etc., will be. Okay? Now, all things, of course,
remaining constant.
Voila.
Ceteris paribus.
Voila. Now, There have been certain things that have been going on. Hate speech, talking about divisive politics and, terrible speech that actually should be condemned by the highest, levels whatsoever. Now, agencies are threatening to lock out leaders over hate speech. Now, a threat, backbite, we don't know, but let's hear. The NCIC and Graft team are working on close to 20 hate and incitement cases involving top politicians. NCIC says it has hired staff to attend political rallies and record politicians spewing hate. Some politicians may be denied the chance to contest in the August 9th general election over hate speech. The National Cohesion and Integrated Commission, working closely with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, said it would not clear those involved in hate and incitement speeches in the run-up to the election. The agencies disclosed that they are currently working on these cases. NCIC will recommend to the Anti-Corruption Commission not to issue integrity certificates to some senior politicians who have failed to abide by the values of cohesion. And this is according to Wambui Ndutu, who is the Commission's vice chairperson. The warning shot by NCIC comes barely weeks after some politicians were summoned and asked to record statements. Others have already been charged in court. In achieving its goal of peaceful and fair elections, Ndutu said the Commission had hired personnel to attend political meetings and record politicians involved in hate speech. She dismissed claims that the Commission was a toothless bulldog. Of course she did. And warned that all hate and incitement cases would be sped up. Speeded up? Sped up. Ndutu said Chief Justice Martha Koome had set aside 4 courts to deal with incitement cases, noting that this would deter incitement that has been the norm in past elections. On his part, Patrick Maingi from the Kenya Private Sector Alliance said the business community was worried by the insightful speeches being made by politicians. He said incitement always affected investor confidence and that the private sector was keen on peaceful campaigns and elections. The business sector is one of the most affected whenever there is chaos, and we are keen on peaceful coexistence as we head to the elections. Bishop John Warari from the Interreligious Council of Kenya said the church was keen to use the faithful to preach peace. Ford Kenya Organizing Secretary Chris Mandu blamed the IEBC and NCIC for failing to flex their muscle against those involved in hate speech. The IEBC has an election calendar, but politicians have ignored this and are campaigning daily, while NCIC has summoned many politicians, but no action has been taken. Toothless commission? Can you see now where the reason is? Since last year, a number of politicians have been summoned to appear before the commission, while others have been charged in court with incitement. But nothing has really been done. So it would seem as if some people are complaining that, all you do is summon folks, but then and then you charge them here and there, but nothing can be done. Or nothing will be done. But now, these 2 agencies have come together and they have said, we will not even clear you for the election if there is an incitement issue against you, number 1. We are going to be attending political rallies. We have hired staff. We're going to be attending these rallies. If you say or behave in a manner that would suggest that there's some kind of incitement going on and that there's some hate speech happening, we will act. And the likelihood is that, we're not even going to let you participate in this election. So this is not just a warning shot that's being fired. This is a hanging, gloomy, dark cloud of threat that is hanging over your possible political career coming from these 2 agencies saying, look, you guys, we've been called a toothless bulldog before as the NCIC.
Is it possible for them to publish?
The bullet is in the chamber.
Good.
If you misbehave, we shoot your political dreams to smithereens.
If the bullet in the chamber and the gadgets that you're supposed to use to propel that bullet out is not in good working order, you might as well just take that bullet out and put it on the table. The effect will be the same.
You think it needs some DW40?
No. This one is not DW40. Dismantle the entire gadget, oil it, do all sorts of things. What NCIC is doing is commendable, to be honest. Mm-hmm. They are doing the right thing, but it would help tremendously if they could tell us the yardstick that is being used. Explain to us, when you say hate speech, the indicators you'll be looking for are this, 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 and this. Not words only, but not the meanings only, but the import. Give us a little trajectory of the history behind some of the... Meaning, when you make statements and you say this is what you're going to do and this is what you're going to record, it isn't the first time that we're going to have a situation where political leaders have even been taken to court on this same subject of hate speech. And you know what? They walk away.
Yes. But isn't that, look, I know we can window dress things and make them sound nice and politically correct, but is that not the truth? That even just as we said yesterday, those who have seen these huge cases of graft come before court and then they're charged, but then you can wrap it up in appeal for the longest time and you can find yourself walking free for 2 decades. Those that you think it would serve as a deterrent to are looking at it and saying, hold on a minute, you can actually steal this money and walk around for 20 years, right? Now, same thing here, that you say whatever it is that you want to say, you rile up incitement in the minds of people, and then they're going to slap you on the wrist and say, well, don't do that again. That's what it looks like. So anybody who might want to use it, say, you know what? Oh, forget it. I'm going to say whatever it is that I want to say. After all, what is going to happen? I'll be called, I'll make a statement, and I'll go. But is that not what we've been seeing? So why would anybody feel, even with this latest statement, why would anybody feel that there's a significant threat over my political career, future or present, if I say whatever it is I want to say? The history has not been showing anything detrimental.
You know, with what they're saying yesterday and what the Commissioner Makori told us when he came to the show, that the judiciary is actually dedicating some courts,
4 of them,
4 courts for this particular purpose. That over time, what's this commission called again?
NCIC.
NCIC has worked at redefining and fine-tuning the definition of what constitutes hate speech.
Yeah.
So all those things are in place. So when you go to court, then you have a better framework within which to work. If we see prosecution and punishment, it'll start serving as a deterrent. But the bigger one starts with all of us. These people speak and we cheer them. And when these people are arrested, we don't see anything wrong that they have said. And the next time they appear before us, they'll come and they'll talk to us and we'll be there cheering them.
And even, don't you also feel a kind of palpable hunger, even for some kind of drama to occur between people to say a certain thing, that you want drama? If they were going to come and stand and say, well, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, you would deem it as boring, nothing really happened today. But if there's some kind of slewing and there's some kind of drama riling up, negative, it seems as though there's an appetite for scandal, isn't it? You feel as though that is what people feed off of. Because even when we say, like you said, when we saw these cases of hate speech and incitement, that there was almost like an appetite for it. That people were like, yeah, this is now.
People cheer.
Yeah.
This
is now the stuff we want to hear.
Yesterday, there were 2 MPs who were recording statements and going from one office to office to seek to record statement. Baringo South parliamentary aspirant Joseph Tarus and Philemon Kebet Elias Massar, who has declared interest in the Kabartonjo civic seat. The 2 politicians spent the better part of the day yesterday at the county headquarters. They were later directed to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to record statements. Police reports indicate that the trio were among local leaders who held a meeting in Mochongoi Trading Center where they allegedly made incitement remarks. The 3rd politician is a member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, Florence Jamatia, who has not appeared before the police, who has not honored the summonses. Clips of Madam Florence Jamatia speaking have been circulating on social media. She was speaking at this meeting and she said, look, we are facing insecurity in Kerio Valley on a daily basis. People here are attacked. We sit here, we are attacked from this other side. We sit on the other side. How about arming the locals? That was the statement that she said. Arm the locals, among other things. We are spending money, CDFs, we doing what, building schools. We are building schools for who to attend.
Right. Which children are attending those schools when there's a security threat hanging over their heads?
How about you allocate that money to security? and you buy guns in bulk and arm the people to protect themselves.
You know, why is it that insecurity has intensified so much in that region?
Begs the question.
Because, Senator, Kipchumba Murkomen has spoken about this same issue.
Yep.
Very passionately, by the time every wannabe leaders are talking about this thing, it means it's something that the public knows about. It's something that is happening. Lamu has gone quiet. We don't hear much about Laikipia. In all honesty, by the time your own citizens write to the UN to talk about a security problem in the country, what do you think they have gone through to get them to that point? They have talked, they've asked themselves, and they've said, folks, it looks like this one, the government can't. Why don't we write to a higher authority and tell them this is the problem that we're having?
Yeah.
Who are these people behind all this? Because it looks that they're powerful enough, not only not to do enough, but to ensure that the problem continues.
Do you think the people who were in that meeting in Muchongoi, do you think they felt that these leaders were uttering inciting remarks?
No, I don't. No, they did not.
No,
they did not.
Because when the MP was speaking there and saying, look, we are attacked, we are unarmed, we are not protected. Now we are seeing just 2 or 3 police officers here who are wearing bulletproof vests and helmets. They are protected. But we are the ones who are being attacked. These police officers are going back to their bases, will be left in the villages, will be attacked. Tomorrow, same thing. The day after, same thing. The government has been unable to provide us security. How about? Because the people who are attacking us are armed. Arm the people.
By the time they say armed, it means the weaponry is sophisticated.
Yes.
It's just, this is one of those situations where communities having issues, because this is how it's often explained, you'd find people armed with traditional weapons. Bows, arrows. No. Because every time here someone has died, they were shot.
Yep.
And here, not shot with an arrow, bullet. So?
The attackers are heavily armed. The victims are unarmed.
Completely.
The victims have no security. The new Rift Valley Regional Commissioner has gone there and said, my first priority is try to seek to bring back normalcy in Kerio Valley. There's an issue in Kerio Valley.
That issue didn't begin yesterday.
Yes. And that's why I said the last week we were saying the president ought to pronounce himself on this particular matter. The way he spoke about vandals of power infrastructure, he should speak about the lives of people in Kerio Valley.
Or are we being told that the lives of these people don't matter?
Yeah.
Look, you don't have to use so many words to say something, right?
No.
You don't have to open your mouth to say. Yeah, that your regard for them, can be likened to something that's almost useless. And that's the unfortunate thing. No. Because you don't have to come out and say, look, I don't really regard you. Look, your actions in the opposite could show the exact same thing. That if you're not attending to the issue that is clearly a problem across board over and over and over again, you're basically saying that to blazes with these folks. Anything can happen to them and it won't matter unless you're doing something about it. That's when you really look. I'll say it. You are treated in a certain way. They are basically, please believe them when they tell you this. They don't have to open their mouths to say it. Believe them. They're telling you exactly what it is that they feel.
It's even reported. So it isn't. And it's reported by independent bodies and journalists. They say this is the problem that is going on. You see, my real profound concern is how it is that these things then escalate. And unfortunately, I cannot look at these issues and not consider the electioneering period. And ask myself, what is it that is going on? For the longest time, people at the coast complained about what they call injustice about the land. Now, by the time Pwani didn't become Kenya, and Republican parties of all sorts of form and shape started taking place, you see, they were what you're calling the end product of something that had been there for the longest time and unaddressed.
Yep.
Kaya Bombo came up unaddressed. Now, how do you keep piling one issue on top of another, You're saying we have normalcy. Those people who are harmed still have a grievance. Those people who lost their land still have a grievance. Those people whose kin were killed still have a grievance. Those who lost livestock still have a grievance. You're talking about Marsabit. A Rendile, who's part of that particular county, wants to get water or pasture for their goats. And then they go to a region, and that region, unfortunately, is inhabited by Boranas. Now, when you haven't dealt with this issue, it then becomes a Borana Rendile issue. It shouldn't be. Now, the efforts that are being made exist, but they're insufficient. Or should we say they are not targeted specifically to solve problems? You get the impression it's almost window dressing to show that something is being done. When the government puts its mind to doing something,
it will be done.
It gets done.
Yeah.
There's no way people can walk around a region carrying guns, shooting people, taking their livestock.
On a daily basis, surely.
And nothing is done about it. That you have senior security officers going there and talking and telling the people, you know what, let's stop this trend. Let's sit down and let's talk. Nothing.
You know, this isn't a time when words are necessary. Unless the president is going to stand up and say something that will provide direction as to how this should be done. And it isn't just Kerio Valley. We are talking about areas that we've known for the longest time to have strife. What makes them think it can't spread to other places?
Sure.
It starts that way. And then it spreads. You know, there's a country in western part of this continent called Guinea-Bissau.
Yes.
Guinea-Bissau was formerly a Portuguese colony. In the last 2 years, they've had 4 coups or coup attempts, right, against an elected government. And the strangest thing about that country is that the people support the coup.
The coup.
That region, whether it's Burkina Faso, next door, or others, one of the things that characterizes the leadership is they get elected. Then it's like the first order of business is to try and change the constitution so that you can stay there until the day you die.
Yes, to make sure that it works in your favor.
Yes. You have to ask yourself this question. When Kenya got independence, it wasn't certain parts of Kenya. It was the whole country. And the independence was for all the citizenry in the country. So if one part of the country is enjoying peace, the other part also ought to enjoy the same peace. If one part of the country has its education system uninterrupted and the learning of young Kenyans uninterrupted, every other part of the country ought to have the same. Now, progress was made when we had compulsory free education. Compulsory. Classes got full because people who had no hope of going to school could now go to school. Now you have a situation where you have this free education. You can't go to school because the insecurity levels are so high.
And then here we are saying that well, look, and this is two sides. Look, I mean, I'm not even arguing that those who actually open their mouths and plant some kinds of seeds in the minds of people to then go out and then perpetrate violence, I'm not saying that they should not be prosecuted. I actually do believe that such things should be cut at the source. But here you are, and there's somebody who is clearly saying, look, you have not been able to provide this needed security in this area, so much so that our children cannot even go to school. And I'm basically saying, all right, if you're not going to do it, then arm the locals. Now, should such a person then be brought under the force of the law?
Remember?
And I bold enough to say I do not think so. Because she's asking you to take care of the people, and you've not been able to do it all this time. You haven't, because you don't have an interest, because like you say, this free republic, then there's some parts that are freer than others.
Do you know the government recognizes that need? In some of these far-flung areas that are prone to banditry attacks and so forth, there are people within those communities who are called home guards. That's the term they were given. If it's changed, I don't know.
NPR.
Yes. They're armed by the government.
They're called National Police Reservists.
Yes, home guards. They are armed by the government. So the government understands this need. is there really anything the government doesn't understand about every part of this country? The answer is no. They understand everything they need to understand.
So then begs the question that do they then care that there are certain people who are living under this threat of insecurity on a daily basis? There are people who are afraid to leave their homes and send their children to school. There are people who are afraid to leave their homes and go to ply their trade on a daily basis. There are people who live under the threat of having to pack up everything and go every single day.
It's the attitude of people at Harambee House. There are people who sit in the offices in Harambee House, and when they hear someone has died somewhere, where is that? Kerio Valley. Oh. It's the Pokots fighting the Marakwets.
Yes.
Those people, they've been fighting for a while,
Yeah. It's like you're discussing a sport.
Yes.
So-and-so against so-and-so.
Oh, they won today. Okay,
To
that
them,
one lost.
Yeah, it's that. It's Pokots fighting Marakwets. It's not there's a child who's not going to school. No. It's not there's a woman who has lost a husband.
Or there are Kenyans.
There's somebody who has lost a son.
No.
Or a daughter. No.
Wale watu, as we call them. Now you tell me, are certain Kenyan lives less important than other Kenyan lives?
You wonder. Is there somebody who's less Kenyan than the other? And then that requires a level of security or care that another one does not.
There's an attitude that we often say is latent in people who are essentially racist. Meaning, they've determined and placed you in a certain position, and you're never really going to move from there, no matter what you do. Okay? Yes.
Let's take a break. 29 to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Austin says it's his birthday.
It's his Twitterversary.
Also the day that he joined Twitter. Okay. 02022022. This is the date today. Let's take a look at weather and traffic. We'll be back with more conversations.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
There's a
your
cloud
day.
over the city in Nairobi at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. Mostly sunny conditions at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 14. We'll see a low of 13 in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 16, highs of 25. And in Eldoret, 14 degrees, sunny conditions. Started early, highs of 24 and lows of 12. It's mostly cloudy in Mombasa at 25, highs of 32. And we'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, where it's cloudy currently at 23. Cloudy conditions in Kisumu, a chance of rain, highs of 27 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega it's mostly cloudy at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 16. Clear conditions in Kampala at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 18, while it's raining in Dar es Salaam at 27. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 26. Joburg is cloudy at 15, highs of 27 and lows of 15, and it's still foggy in Lagos at 22. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 33. 29 will be the high recorded in Kinshasa, where it's raining at 25. We'll see lows of 23.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
We are in traffic hour and quite a lot of traffic in certain parts of the city today. Let's look at Jogo Road, then getting towards the city, spilling off onto Landis and out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. Landis looks pretty good. However, you're going to get to the Kamkunji roundabout and that's going to slow down some. Getting onto Haile Selassie Avenue, that's also starting to get into a bumper-to-bumper situation. Let's look at Uhuru Highway, then coming from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out into the city and then through to Westlands. That's quite packed today. Raila Odinga Way started pretty early. Traffic then coming off of Langata Road. Gong Road also bumper-to-bumper. It's pretty slow on Mombasa Road as well as you head out towards the SGR. Nothing at a tier spilling situation just yet. We're looking at the Thika Superhighway and that's built up way past the drive-in today. And coming off Clayworks, then coming in from Outer Ring, also quite packed this morning. How about we talk about it? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 6 minutes to 8. What are you saying, City?
I'm saying jinga mimi. I left that newspaper out there.
Gazeti lako liko pale nje.
Lakini sio hoja.
Yes. Johnny, takuomba tafadhali mletee ndugu City nakala yake ya gazeti la Standard.
Kama bado ipo.
Kama bado ipo. Page 32 of the Standard. Ndu.
Yes.
Ebu soma ile story ile.
Okay, so Mali ruling junta expels the French ambassador as tensions mounts. That is.
You're on which day?
Oh, I'm sorry, you said 32. Yeah. But I think that was interesting because kind of related to what we are talking about right now. It's still the same thing. But okay, so let's go to 32. Coups chaired in West Africa as Islamist insurgency sap faith in democracy. Okay, so we've seen a couple of those over the last couple of years. We saw Cote d'Ivoire, we saw Mali, we saw Guinea, and I think we saw, so there's three Guineas. There's Guinea-Bissau, there's Equatorial Guinea, and then there's Guinea that has Conakry, right?
And Burkina Faso also has, there's a coup.
Currently.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So the last time rebellious soldiers attempted to overthrow Burkina Faso's government in 2015, Marcel Tanakaun was among thousands of protesters who took to the streets to oust the junta. Within days, loyalist forces had restored president to power. Last week, Tankanao was on the streets again, this time celebrating the military coup that toppled the country's elected president, Roch Kabore. Since the 1990s, there has been a wave of democracy across West Africa, but that democracy has failed the people, according to him. He's a civil society leader that lives outside the capital of Ouagadougou. We must be clear, we need a military regime. This is what he says. His change of heart reflects disenchantment across West Africa's Sahel region, where elected governments have failed to contain growing militant violence over the last decade that has killed thousands of people and displaced millions more, emboldened by popular anger. Militaries in Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso have taken matters into their own hands, staging 4 coups in 18 months and reversing democratic gains that have seen the region shared its tag as Africa's coup belt. Poverty and corruption have further undermined faith in civilian rulers, worrying international partners, including France, of course, and the United States, who have troops in the region fighting Islamist insurgents and fear greater instability. People are not against democracy as a principle, but they are very disenchanted with elected leaders, according to Maggie Dwyer, a lecturer at the University of Edinburgh, who has studied military coups in West Africa. There is more leniency for military leadership now during the insurgency than in peacetime. Tankanao's change of mind was gradual. The militant threat first came to West Africa and Mali in 2012 when Islamist fighters, some with links to Al-Qaeda, hijacked an ethnic Tuareg uprising. The French military initially pushed the militants back, but they regrouped and in 2015 unleashed a wave of deadly attacks that later spread to Burkina Faso and Niger. So, there have been signs of trouble, and we go then further. Thousands of people protested in Burkina Faso in November after 49 military officers and 4 civilians were killed by militants near a gold mine in the remote north, the worst attack on security forces in recent memory. It is not clear what the junta will do differently to the government if ousted, given limited resources at its disposal. The story, which is covered by the Reuters news agency, has not been able to reach the Burkinabe military for comment on its plans since it took power. Across the border in Mali, security has not noticeably improved under the military-led government, which said last month it was not ready to hold elections and would stay in power until 2025.
Okay.
The 15-member Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, imposed strict sanctions. In response, thousands of people protested in support of the junta.
There you go. People are basically getting to a point where they're saying, these elected leaders of ours
are not helping us,
are not serving us. So there's been an increase in the number of militant insurgents in these countries over time. spreading fear among the population and the people feeling that their government is actually not responding adequately to the rising insurgencies. And the people get to a point where they say, I think we just need a change. And when the military takes over, they feel finally somebody who can maybe take on these militants is in office. Started with insecurity, getting people feeling they are not being served by their government, getting to a point where the military is emboldened, military takes over, and the people pour out onto the streets not to protest that their democracy is being eroded, but saying we support the overthrow of a democratically elected government by a military junta. Signs. What we were talking about, Kerio Valley and all these other parts of the country.
Equip us. Equip us.
By the time we're getting to a point where basically all these countries are experiencing coup, and people are feeling, yeah. I mean, we've tested democracy. We have participated in elections.
Sure.
We have voted in a government. We have voted in a president, members of parliament, and we don't feel.
Look at
what are they saying?
Look at the chronology of coups and how they played out on the continent. Looking at the early 80s towards, late 80s. Coups that took place in different parts. What was the feeling of people resident in such countries? There was fear, right? There were people then who ran to their homes. There were people then who did not want to come out into the streets. What did we see in Mali when the coup took place? You had people in the streets of Bamako who were cheering on the military and who were saying, please come out. We go with you. Yeah. We had people who were going to the barracks and trying to encourage soldiers to come out of the barracks and help them to take over power. Do you see the distinct difference now? That fear then was pushed to the back, and people are now saying, you know what? This is enough. This supposed democracy, the way in which you have defined it for us, that you say is supposed to work where certain things are supposed to be provided, countries are wallowing in debt and poverty. We cannot even get power. There is no water. Health services are a mess. No way. On top of that, we have insurgents who are trying to come into our cities and into our towns and to keep us under some kind of petrified rule. Yeah. And we say we have a government in place who is supposedly saying they can do nothing about it. I'm sorry. So let's bring in the military, who we know have been known to deal with force. Let them now run the country, because clearly you people cannot do it.
You guys are corrupt.
You cannot do it.
In the case of Mali, the president, Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, came to power in 2013. Then came the violence. Attacks on civilians and the military have continued since 2015 from Islamic insurgents, leaving many people destitute under the control of groups linked to the jihadist networks, including the ISIS. Meanwhile, the president was buying a $40 million presidential jet, causing an uproar at home. His son Karim came under fire in the local press for partying on the island of Ibiza. The people of Mali were fed up. They said, no.
Rubbish.
When the military took over and they said, we are here for 5 years, people are saying, okay, it's a long time, but I mean, in the history of a country, that's a short time.
It's okay.
It's fine.
You know, the conspicuous consumption and the total, absolutely total disregard for the people who they are supposed to actually represent. You know, in places where people actually like their civilian rulers, like Myanmar, you see the opposite happening. The military come in, the citizens are now resisting. Where people are protesting peacefully, people are leaving jobs to go back into wherever they came from and are now learning to fight with arms.
Yes, no.
It tells you these people are saying,
enough.
No. This military thing, no.
And I think it's also time for us now, we cast a different light on this thing. Because I think we start to see how we have been conditioned, unfortunately, by some of these reports to think that, look, and I want to say this as carefully as I can, that those who institute coups around this area or even other parts of the continent initially were seen as dissidents, right? But don't we see that more regularly than not, what they were trying to do, or what they have been trying to do in the recent past, is actually unseat regimes that have continuously plunged people deeper and deeper into poverty? That they're actually saying, you know what, we need this hand of force to be able to align things in the country. Because here we are saying, let's invite a democracy that has been defined externally and bring it into this country. But we still have people who are dying on a daily basis from things as basic as hunger. We have a country that is so different in terms of its disparity from north to south, remote. You wouldn't believe that there is a metropolis in the same country. And I'm talking about countries like Niger. I'm talking about countries like Burkina Faso and Mali. And you have supposedly democratic government that is sitting in place. And these things cannot be handled. You have a country, the entire country of Niger, for example, its national grid is provided by Nigeria. Let's not talk about the fact that many states in Nigeria don't have power. But okay, Niger's entire national grid power is provided by Nigeria. So tell me, when the military then comes in and the people are urging a military to come in and hold on to power, and they're even saying, it's okay, you don't even have to tell us how long you're going to be there. But if you're going to be able to keep things in an orderly fashion, then please, carry on. And we are very all right with it. By the time you're hearing such messages, then perhaps it's time to think about this democracy that we are inviting on a regular basis. That people then can come and call you strong men. That people then come and define you as the cool belt of Africa. Then you have to ask yourself, the people are all right with this. Who then
What's happening?
Is the problem?
You know, in North Africa, when there were this kind of uprisings, well, it wasn't military taking over, it was the people pouring onto the streets. We called it what? The Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring.
Because people were fed up with their government and they wanted change. They wanted to basically walk the government out of office and run them out of town. And they did. We called it the Arab Spring and we said, you know what? People taking up democracy. So it's a different kind of thing that's happening in these West African countries. But just like this story by Reuters is actually indicating, there's a common thread, there's a commonality. There has been a spate of violence and insecurity that has continued for very many years, that has left many people killed, and citizens are sitting back and watching their police officers being killed, their soldiers being killed, and the government not doing anything that they consider adequate to address. So the insurgents have basically formed like a belt across these countries where they are controlling large swathes of land and attacking people's homes left, right, and center wantonly. And the people are feeling, where is our government? And the military that has been, subservient to the civilian rule is now emboldened because they feel we have the people behind us. We are the ones who are getting killed. Let's get this government out. So we can make the decision on how we can protect our soldiers and our citizens.
Mm-hmm.
The citizens are with them.
You know, the Islamist insurgents, as they are called, many of them are just citizens of those very same countries.
Yes, no.
Okay. So, for whatever reason, whether it's being presented as spreading Islam, anyone who actually understands the teaching of the Quran will tell you he doesn't teach people to do the sort of things that these people are doing. It doesn't actually. Yeah. It's a religion of peace. But ask yourself, the first coup on this continent was in 1963. It was in Togo. There were no Islamists then. 1966, in between, there were rumblings in other parts of the country, but I'm choosing Nigeria because they had military rule, except for a small spate in 1979 to 1983. It's military coup from 1966 to 1999.
Yep.
Now, there were no Islamists. But what had become obvious, next door, Ghana, what had become obvious, civilian rule seemed to think that they had been put there to plunder. We have a civilian rule in this country that seemed to think exactly the same. Exactly. Every good thing that the citizens are supposed to benefit from, some group of people, some individuals must come along and reap huge benefit through a process of theft. They're not even that careful anymore.
No.
It isn't something that you have to look and search for. You just need to open your eyes and you can see it. What makes us think that we are immune from some of these problems that we keep seeing in other parts of the country? Because these very soldiers that we speak of are also citizens of that same country.
Yep.
A professor of mine used to say that, when you look at peacetime and then people are taking advantage of that, because that's what it is. In peacetime, people taking advantage of peacetime and forgetting that it is just a couple of conversations away from conflict.
Yes.
Because that's what it is. That people have become so uncomfortable with the status quo that they begin to have conversations. And the conversation then leads to an action. And that action is oftentimes what we are seeing here. So without being careful in terms of what could actually happen if you don't actually do what you ought to when you're in that position that has been given to you to lead a nation, to get your people out of the place where they're heavily dependent on a cry and a beg, then you get to the point where people are going to say, you know what, it's enough. It is enough. So then the trend that we are seeing today in West Africa, and it always has been said that military rule is the dictatorial rule and that that is not what you want. You want the liberal, democratic rule in every country, and that is the way it ought to be. But then you have people plundering it within an inch of its life.
Those who say that those who have the privilege of learning from history and do not are condemned to repeat it. 1789, you have the French Revolution. Okay? One of the things that led to it, and I'm going to bring it up and talk about our own quest for independence. These people had been told to go to America because the French also had colonies in America to fight. Now, the American colonies. Now, these people had come from France. That's how France had colonies.
Yes.
Come from Britain. That's how Britain had colonies.
Yeah.
But they now took this new land as theirs.
And started to fight on it.
Yeah. What were they protesting? They saying, no, wait.
We got here first.
The same thing we ran away from is still being brought to bear on us here. No. We've got to do something about it. You fight someone's war to help, and you see the energy that people want to stay or want liberation, fight for. You come back, you're educated. You send our people to war. Those who have written histories about this country will tell you that among the things that the 2 world wars did for this country, it was exposure. Whatever image they had of the colonialists started changing because they took large numbers of people there. They came back and said, wait a moment, wait. These people who are governing us are just like us.
Yep.
We thought they were superior, but they're not. They die like us, everything. Why do you bring a situation upon yourself, and history is replete with why it is human beings always want to bring about change that in their mind benefits them? It's because under your tutelage and guidance, under the rule that they have provided and given you through a democratic process, they have not seen the benefits that you promised you would give them.
No, they haven't.
And they said, no,
and not just once. And that's the thing, CT, because, people generally are patient. They'll say, okay, fine, it's coming, it's the first time, let's give them an opportunity. Under your rule, consistently compounded, conditioned, they have not seen that which you said you would do. They have not seen that promise upon which they gave you that position that you said you will deliver to them. They have not seen it. And they've given you time to fulfill it. They have. They've complained, they've grumbled, you've come back, you've said you will do, you didn't do. They've complained, they've grumbled some more, you've come back, it has not been done.
Yep.
So they said, you know what? Oh my God. Even the wall at some point is going to break down from pressure, isn't it? So you know what? We can't take this anymore. I think even as you're seeing some things happening in some places, then it should also serve as warning for others to say, you know what? Very easily could you then get into the same position in which these folks are finding themselves.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, internal conflict, forget about external conflict, countries fighting war, internal conflict where all your structures have fallen apart is a very, very bad place to be in. It is not fun. It isn't. Visiting countries that have been war-torn because of internal conflict and seeing how they have to rebuild from the very beginning, and these conflicts are from these things that we're talking about right now. It is not a joke.
Do you know how Russia got into Second World War? The Germans, in their confidence, felt they could go and teach these fellows a lesson. Now, the Russian winter was Russia's best ally. It's winter.
Minus 40 degrees.
Winter.
Yeah.
Killed very many of those German soldiers. Now, the Russians, in retaliation, they didn't just take the army. No, they brought in the Kazakhs, the Mongols, the Trazacs, all these supposed native traditional people who were known for their savagery.
Yes.
They knew how to do the business.
Those people. And they didn't have ammunition. Them. Do you know, if you read the history of what happened in Germany, there are people who committed suicide with their whole families when these people were approaching, because they
it was better for them to die in that manner than to die at the hands of what they called the savages.
Yes, exactly. So the question you ask, had the Germans not taken that war to Russia, would the Russians have been that enthusiastic
to bring it to them?
Yes. Now, all I'm saying is, people often consider the beneficial consequences of the actions they take. But this one of ours, this deliberate wanton neglect of citizens of this particular country, it is not that the police don't know what to do. It's not that GSU don't know what to do. It's not that the APs don't know what to do. Who are the people who are causing this confusion? Because even if you think of the army, our people have questioned whether the training is adequate. I'm not going there. I'm simply saying they are capable, they are able. So the only reason we can't see the ability is because somebody somewhere, some people somewhere are restraining them. Yes. Whether it's internal strife regarding money with the people who actually run this out, whatever it is, it's not the capability of our security forces that is in question. No, it is not. No. It is the people who brought the politics of money and resources into it, who prefer a situation such as the one we have to continue.
When you get to a point where people are writing to the UN Secretary General, where people's leaders are basically saying, how about we all take up arms and protect ourselves? They have reached the end of the tether.
Oh, yeah.
They have.
And maybe the East Africa, the EALA legislator may have just been voicing something that has been happening in local villages, in local homesteads, where people are saying, okay, so how can we get guns? I mean, we need to protect ourselves.
Eric,
and we have a government in place that has been going there and saying, we are seeking to secure peace in this restive Kerio Valley. There have been historical areas there and the other. These are counties of Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and West Pokot. They have leaders.
They do. They even have governors.
And they have leaders from very many years. They have senior people in government. They can influence something to happen.
They can.
They can snuff out this thing.
What is it that would make it get to a point?
Unless you want to ask the question, then if you see a consistent and continual state of violence and all these uprisings, who is benefiting from having those uprisings continue in those areas? I keep saying the business of conflict is not cheap.
Do all these areas have members of parliament?
Yeah.
How loudly do you hear these issues being shouted out in parliament?
When they shout, they're arrested.
When they shout, they're being told that they're inciting hate speech.
When they shout, it's hate speech.
They should shout more.
Tiati MP talk like this inside for a weekend. Now this is an EALA MP speaking. She's being looked for.
You know something?
Kipchumba Murkomen spoke and told the regional commissioner, you know what, you have teeth, you don't even have teeth, we don't even know whether you can bite.
We don't even know if you can bite.
Can you bite this time?
Then
stop
this story of barking before you bite. Bite and then back.
Talk.
Yes.
You back later. Then we will know.
Kipchumba, I'm sure there are people who have said, wewe, one more word. One more word, Kipchumba.
You know, you then have to ask this question, of what use are these grand projects that we have? And yet we even can't feed our own people. Of what use are all these things we keep talking about? Huge policies political campaigns of what people want to do, and the fundamental basics that were there from independence are now beginning to ravage lives of very many citizens of this independent country. Surely.
Of what use?
Omo.
Of what use? Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, let's talk about another global threat. This is antimicrobial resistance. And we'll be joined by the Secretary of the Hospital Pharmacists Association of Kenya, Dr. Dorothy Iwak, who will be here as we have this conversation. Remember, last year we celebrated the Antimicrobial Resistance Week. We'll be having further conversations on this in the next hour. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya has surpassed the 12 million mark in the nationwide vaccination exercise, even as the positivity rate slowed to 2.8% in the last 24 hours. According to the Ministry of Health, as of January 31st, a total of 12,451,246 vaccines have been administered across the country. The government is working towards vaccinating a targeted population of 27,246,033. Now, lawyer Miguna has now sued Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo for failing to facilitate his return into the country. In his suit papers, Miguna is seeking to have the court order a citizen arrest warrant for Omamo, who should then be delivered at committee maximum prison. The lawyer further wants the court to order Air Lufthansa, Air France and the state to refund him 1 million shillings, the amount he said he spent on his failed trips last year. Miguna was expected to arrive in their home on November 16, 2021, but an international red alert was allegedly issued against him in Berlin, Germany. The murder case facing Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Juma will now be heard in April after the hearing failed to kick off last week over health concerns. The legislator, through her lawyers, has also filed an application asking that her case be heard by a magistrate's court. Juma's lawyers told the court that the legislator was feeling better after the hearing, which was slated for January 24th, was postponed to 27th after the MP fell ill and was reportedly admitted at Karen Hospital in Nairobi. A former finance manager at the Water Resources Management Authority, WARMA, has been sentenced to 24 years in jail for soliciting and receiving bribes of up to 910,000 shillings to facilitate development in the authority's regional offices. In the judgment that was delivered by Senior Principal Magistrate Eunice Muthui of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Court, James Ambuso was found guilty of 4 out of 9 counts of bribery and abuse of office that he faced and was given an alternative fine of 7.6 million shillings. Ambuso was facing 9 offences under the Bribery Act of 2016 and the Anti-Corruption Code and Economic Crimes Act of 2003. Now, Isiolo-based detectives are currently pursuing suspected bandits who allegedly shot dead a police officer before absconding with 2 G3 rifles and 50 rounds of ammunition. The incident, police say, occurred at Loruko Police Post near the Isiolo-Samburu border. The deceased police constable Francis Njeru was manning the post alongside his colleague Boaz Omondi, who allegedly left a few minutes before the ambush to make a phone call at a nearby primary school. Now, Nairobi gubernatorial seat hopefuls Johnson Sakaja and Margaret Wanjiru brought a Kenya Kwanza whistle-stop rally at the Sweet Park to a halt after Sakaja supporters reportedly booed the woman of cloth. A video that has since gone viral shows a visibly angry Wanjiru handing over the microphone during the vote-hunting tour of Nairobi. Bishop Wanjiru, who is seeking to be the next city boss on a United Democratic Alliance party ticket, accused Sakaja of inciting his followers against her. Now, the United Democratic Alliance is welcoming applications from aspirants interested in seeking its ticket for various seats in the August 9 general elections. A notice issued by National Election Board Chairperson Anthony Maura says aspirants can submit their applications online or the party's headquarters in Nairobi. The party, which is linked to the Deputy President William Ruto, says male president aspirants will be expected to pay 1 million shillings, while female aspirants will pay 500,000 shillings as nomination fees. National Assembly Speaker Justin Muthui, who is also eyeing the presidency on a Democratic Party ticket, says nothing stops the Mount Kenya region from producing another head of state to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta in the August 9th general election. Speaker Muthui, who was addressing grassroots leaders from Thika, Kiambu County, challenged the region's electorate to demand more than a running mate slot for the presidential aspirant. He particularly pointed on Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga, who were perceived front-runners in what has been dubbed a two-horse race. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Seto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, let's help with what it looks like on the roads this morning. Langata Road quite packed this morning, and we're going towards Raila Odinga Way with quite some traffic. Uhuru Highway after the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, that is moving very slowly this morning. I think you're going to go all the way through into Westlands with that drama. And look, there's something going on Wangari Maathai Road today, and it's Wangari Maathai Way, and that's very slow. We're looking at the whole Parklands area, coming off Limuru Road, in and outbound traffic, very, very slow. Westlands is an absolute mess. Bumper to bumper, not moving at all. So what do? You use the Red Hill Link Road. It's a lot further to get out and into the city, but you might want to think about that because that's an absolute mess this morning. We're also looking at jam-packed traffic on the Thika Superhighway. Coming off Kiambu Road is really slow as well. That whole area, the western side of the city, and then going towards the northern part of the city doesn't look good at all today. All right, let's look at Mombasa Road. Not too bad today. The nightmare, I think we've woken up from it, and it's looking like a bit of a dream, but don't wake up just yet. Southern Bypass looking good. There's an option for you to use this morning. So, shall we look at it in about half an hour? Let's do it. And let's talk in the meantime. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have CT